Okay, so another video is being uploaded to the Silicon Dojo channel right now. I have four more that are running through the encoder at this second. So by the end of today, 23 out of 43 modules for the Introduction to Python self-study program will be finished. Though I do think I have to add a few more modules now that I did these modules. Like every day, I do like somewhere between like 5 to 7 modules. And then as I finish those modules, I realize, oh, there's actually a couple more we need to do. And so I don't know where we are in this process. I was telling my wife about this whole self-study program for Python. And she's like, oh, that sounds great. And I'm like, yeah, it's just so hard, I've got like 43 of these modules to finish. And she looked at me and she said, oh, I figured you were going to start with a shorter subject. And I looked at her and went, if I was as smart as you, dear, if I was as smart as you, I would have started on a shorter subject. But anyway, I have dove in to the introduction to Python. So yeah, we're either half done or a quarter done or a tenth done, probably a third done. Probably somewhere around a third done. So maybe next week. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, so I got Silicon Dojo. Again, authorityless, gatekeeperless, free to end user, hands-on technology education. We use Wix. Have I told you how much I love Wix? Anyways, we use Wix. Wix has a wonderful back end, so it allows us to do things. So we're doing a Zoom class tomorrow. There's Introduction to Programming. That is going to be a live, interactive Zoom class we're going to do tomorrow. We have the old Zoom classes that we have here. This is where we have the self-study program. So this is kind of like a beta. These are classes that I did like a year and a half ago. So this is going to get replaced. And then we have office hours. Those seem like they're going good. So we have another 4 people signed up for office hours next Monday. And then I have 2 people signed up for future office hours. So anyway, so this is if you want like tech coaching or whatever. So if you want to talk to me about your career or your business or whatever else, we get on for 30 minutes. And I listen to you. I listen to you. I listen to. And then I give my advice. And then you go cry in a corner because that's how it goes. No, it's actually been going well. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of used to be Skype. We now use Zoom of these meetings in the past. I like the current iteration of the meetings because it's kind of like the medium is the massage. Right? If you have not read this book, read this book. This tells you everything. This tells you about the modern world. This explains the modern world. And it was written in, when was it written? It was written, copyright, 1967. If you really want to grasp 2025, read the book that was written in 1967. I do believe that this is actually a first edition. Don't tell my father, I stole it from him. I stole it from him when I was a young man, because that's what young people do. We steal crap from our parents, and we don't even feel bad about it. But great book. Medium is a massage. Anyway, big thing with that is basically the idea is the medium of how you communicate changes the message of how you communicate. So before, when I did the Zoom call or the Skype calls, I didn't have this whole Silicon Dojo thing going on. So it was just one-on-one. It always turned into mommy-daddy issues. Always like 99%. The nice thing about this, though, is I got this whole education program going on. So it's a lot easier to force people to focus on, like, no, seriously, why are you here? This isn't a fan meet and greet. I don't care. I don't care if you love me. I would prefer you don't hate me, but I also don't care too much if you hate me. I don't really care that much about what your opinion is. A lot of people are like, Eli, I want to tell you. I'm like, you really don't have to. But anyways, it's not that type of thing. You come, you're like, Eli, I'm doing X, Y, or Z. And I go, wow, that's a good idea. Or, oh, yeah, I wouldn't do that. And I do. One of the people I talked to on Monday, I said, that sounds like a damn fine idea. So again, it's kind of like Wix. I'm not snarky about everything. I'm just snarky about stupid crap. Anyways, what I want to talk about today, and I think this is an interesting thing to talk about because I've seen this in a lot of my meetings or whatever. And I think one of the questions that you have to ask yourself for a lot of people that want to get employed in the technology world, right? You have decided you want to get employed in the technology world for whatever reason. I think one of the questions that you should ask yourself is, would you hire you? And I think for a lot of folks, the answer would be no. The answer would be no. The answer would be snarkier than anything I would have to say. Because I was thinking about that. So I was having a conversation. I've had a conversation with many, many people over this type of thing. And one of the big questions is, again, how do you get, work in the tech world? And one of the curious things is, like, I have so many people that come, they talk with me, and again, some are very, very, very professional, and then some are wackadoodle, some are just like relaxed, like way too relaxed. And one of the things I notice with it is one of the things you should think about with these meetings, these 30-minute meetings, is like semi-professional. Look, I'm not your boss. I can't pass you or fail you. We don't have grades at Silicon Dojo, but I am a tech professional. It's like a relaxed tech professional. It's like two tech professionals going to have a beer. Right? So it's relaxed. Not necessarily that relaxed. Anyways, and one of the things that I notice with a lot of people talking about getting jobs is the way that they present themselves, even in a semi-professional environment, makes me really question why the hell I would ever hire one of these people. Right? Like, so many times, like when I hear people say that they can't get a job, they'll launch into so many reasons in the macro world where the macro world is not being fair to them, right? And one of the things I think about, like, with fairness, is, do I care as a boss? Right? You're going into the technology world. So technology, again, at least back in the day, how it was 10 years ago, and boys and girls, how it will fucking be in another 5 years, is you have a very ROI driven career, return on investment, right? You are hired so that people can make a crap ton of money off of you. Dumb people say that if you want to make a lot of money, you should become a technology professional. Those are the dumb people. Here's the deal. If you want to make a lot of money, become a salesperson or a CEO. Remember, the CEO is taking profit off of what the tech professional does. Bill Gates did not make a gazillion dollars off of writing BASIC or whatever. He made a gazillion dollars off of taking the code that people that made 200 grand a year wrote and then selling it for $1 billion a year, type of deal. All right, but anyways, one of the big things to be thinking about is, again, if you're going to be a technology professional, is your job is to solve the problem. So it's not about whether there are problems out there. But one of the big questions to ask yourself is, how are you dealing with those problems? If you're like, there are problems, what you gonna do about it? Well, why the hell would I want to hire you? Why would I want to hire you? If you're like, oh yeah, these are the 5 problems that I ran into and I dealt with it. Right? Oh, okay. So this person runs into problems and they deal with it. Right? That's somebody you want to hire. That's somebody you want to bring into your group. If you're like, well, I got these problems and right? Is that necessarily somebody that you want to bring into your group? And it's one of the things to be thinking about, like, with how are you presenting yourself to the outside world? I think about this from when I did Kempo, right? Kempo. American martial art, Ed Parker, brutal. One of the reasons we still wore the black gis is they actually taught us how to kill people. We're one of the few modern martial arts taught in the United States where they still tell you how to break a neck. Anyways, but that one of the interesting things with it. So my instructor one day, there was a group of us around him, and he's like, "Well, I've got this psychological problem for you, or whatever, the psychological test, and I want to see how you guys are going to answer it." We're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So he's like, so he looks at us and says, "Hands are choking. What do you do?" Right? And we're like, "What? What do you mean hands are choking? What do you do?" And he just looks at us. "Hands are choking. What do you do?" And so my buddy had some anger issues. He's like, oh, hands are choking. I squeeze tighter. Damn. Right. And then there's another guy that's right beside us. It was kind of funny. He was like this Asian, he was like this small Asian guy. He was literally learning how to fight because he worked in a hospital in Baltimore and he got his ass handed to him by a patient once. He said that was not a good time. So he's like literally learning how to defend himself from patients in the inner city, which is probably its own story. So, anyways, he's like, hands are choking. He's like, oh. He's like, well, then I do this, and he goes through this technique for dealing with somebody who's trying to choke you, right? And then the instructor looks at me, and I crap you not. Again, this is a real world, this is a real lived experience. So I'm sitting there, like my buddy's like, oh, yeah, I choke harder, and this other guy's like, oh, I do this technique. And so I'm looking at the instructor, and I'm like, fuck, hands are choking. What do I do? I was like, well, I tap the guy's shoulder who's on top, and I say, "Look, dude, I think the police might be getting called, so you might want to stop this before it goes bad. Your beer's getting warm." That was my honest opinion. That was my honest response. I didn't know what this test was. And so then we're like, okay, so that's our responses. So what's the right response to hands choking? What do you do? And he said, oh, it's not really it's not the answer specifically, but it's asking psychologically if there is a violent situation and somebody is being choked, where do you intrinsically put yourself in that situation? If there's a choking situation going on, does your lizard brain assume you're the one choking, you're the one being choked, or you're the one going, come on, guys, stop? But you think about that, and you think about that with people going into violent or potentially violent situations. And again, the question is kind of like, who do you want as your wingman in particular situations? But I think about that with a lot of people that I talk to, especially with how they talk to me and how they talk about bosses and how they talk about the greater economic system and all that kind of stuff. Is the whole thing to be thinking about is when you go in and you start talking about things and your body language and how you discuss concepts and all that kind of stuff. What are you relaying to the person on the other side of the table? When the person on the other side of the table is looking at you as a potential hire or as a potential resource, what are they seeing? And is that somebody that they want to bring into their company? The other thing to think about is, there's the whole saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Again, which is also garbage. It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? The most valuable conversations, the conversations that will change your life forever, you will most likely never know happened. One person will meet you, they'll have a conversation, you will not be valuable to them, they'll go have a conversation with somebody else. That person's like, oh crap, I need somebody like that. Do you have their information? One thing leads to another. So when you're sitting there and you're having the conversation with anybody in any kind of professional capacity, whether professional as in an interview or professional as in talking to me, one of the things to be asking yourself is what is the person on the other side of the conversation going to walk away with? Are they going to walk away with, this person may not have the skill set that I require, this person may be more expensive than I can hire this person, but they seem like a valuable member of somebody's team, and I might be able to place them somewhere else? Or are you thinking, nope, where's their resume? Okay, their resume is gone. Right? It's one of those things to consider with, again, like how you're interacting with the world. I had this like with one of my last employees. One of my last employees was always complaining about everybody. And again, I got frustrated at a certain point. They complained about their landlord, and they just complained about everybody. And it was just sad. It was just sad as the boss. I would walk in and I would look at this person. And then it would go through what literally went through my head is, yeah, I wonder what shit they're talking about me when I'm not here. They complain about every other authority figure in the world. They're bitching about me behind my back. And it was just kind of sad. It was just kind of sad. I was actually trying to do my best for them. And it's like, oh, they're probably shit talking me behind my back. That does not make me feel good. And so one of the things that I want you to consider is, again, how are you presenting yourself to the professional world? I think about this with an interview I did, my first interview, and it was the interview where I said computers. I said computers. I did what you all do. I get so snarky at you because I did it, right? So I went to this job. I went to this job interview. It was a startup company. It was a really cool startup company. It was down in the inner harbor of Baltimore. It was doing some awesome stuff. So I go there, and then I go and do the interview, and I'm talking with the person with the interview and all that. And at some point, I ask them what their core technology is or whatever, and they do RP. There's something about remote procedure calls. So in the Windows world, there's these things called RPC. I never really worried about them too much, but anyways, RPCs, remote procedure calls, how their stack worked. That was a big deal. So anyways, at the end of the interview, me being me, I was like, "So how'd I do?" Hey, look, if I'm gonna get the job, I'm gonna have to get the job, and if I'm gonna fail, I might as well know take a lesson from it. And the guy looked at me and was like, "Yeah, no, we're not hiring you." Oh, I was like, "Crap!" I was just out of curiosity. Why? Why? And he said, "Well, um, basically, when I asked you what kind of technology you want to do, you said computers, because that's what it is. Like, I want to do on computers." And it was like, that doesn't actually mean anything to us. And he also said, during the interview, I explained to you that our core technology thing we care about these things called remote procedure calls, and you didn't ask any follow up questions about it. So it's like, if this is our core technology, this is the thing that I literally told you is important about what we do, and you ask no follow up questions about it, right? You're not interested in what we do. You're just not interested. I was like, oh, fair enough. It was good asking that. He then took me to the server room. He showed me their nice, beautiful server room, and then kicked my ass out the door. Lesson learned, right? And that's one of the things to be thinking about is, like, again, when you sit down for the interviews and when you're communicating with people, are you communicating in such a way that people think not just that you're interested even in technology, but also in the technology that they actually care about? Or that you're interested in technology at all. How many meetings have I had with people that are trying to get jobs and they don't discuss technology at all? They're not like, Eli, our relational database is more important, or NoSQL database is more important. Eli, I'm really focusing on blockchain. What should I do? Stop, just stop. Anyways, right? Like so many, like I'll have hour-long conversations with people trying to get jobs. And they'll never talk about the technology stack. They'll never talk about the technology stack. And you're sitting there and you're like, well, why would anybody want to hire you for a tech job when, if you're talking with Eli, the computer guy, for damn near an hour, you don't talk about tech, right? Things to be thinking about, or are you motivated to do these jobs? So GitHub, right? So if you want to be a coder, again, the modern world of technology is all about coding, and GitHub is the place. Whether it should be, whether it shouldn't be. Again, I'm not one of those people to do a lot of arguments, but the fact of the matter is, GitHub is what recruiters look for, and the rest of it. Again, I sat down with a recruiter a number of years ago, and basically what he said is, when he looked at boot camp graduates, the people he cared about, basically he would look at when they graduated boot camp and whether or not they continued posting anything to GitHub past that. And he said he found so many people, like, while they were in boot camp, they would be posting to GitHub every day. The day they got out of boot camp, they would never post again. And he's like, well, they're not working on technology. They're not continuing to learn about coding. They're not continuing to build projects. They're not continuing to do anything. Ergo, they're fucking worthless. They're fucking worthless. Right? Because again, if you're trying to hire people to solve problems, and in our world, the problems are, right, you got to find problems to solve, right? You cannot micromanage people in the tech world, by and large, right? Maybe if you're doing like help desk or desktop support, if that still even exists, like you can kind of micromanage those types of people. But a lot of this coding work, right? You got to just give people the work to, hey, we need our app to do this, make it do that, right? Within our styling and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you have people that as soon as they get out of their boot camp or whatever, they stop posting to GitHub, what does that say to a recruiter? What does that say to anybody else in the technology industry? Now you could say, well, I'm doing projects that don't relate to GitHub. It is sad that Spiceworks kind of failed or is muddling along. So Spiceworks actually had their own social media platform, and part of it was like tech portfolio. It was actually good for IT people. It was kind of like a GitHub for IT people where you could show your projects, but only for like networking and sysadmin and that kind of stuff. That kind of failed. But again, if you don't have stuff in GitHub, if you can show, well, I don't have this in GitHub, but these are the projects I've been working on. Right. I think about that with, I interviewed a CEO of a development company a few years ago. And, you guys were more and more interested in coding. So I go there and I do my deal. I'm like, so what certifications should coders get hired by your company? And he looked at him, he said, none. I was like, what? Well, wait a minute, none? Come on, don't you have like an A plus for C sharp or something? I don't know. He's like, no. And basically said, as the owner of a development company, he said, look, basically, certifications show what you prioritize. He's like, my company is about shipping product. So if you come to me with a portfolio, you come to me with GitHub, that is very interesting. That shows me what you do, how you think, how you write, the whole 9 yards. You're finding problems, you're solving those problems, you're publishing the solutions to the problems, and you're moving on, which is basically our job, right? So basically, I take one of those people, I focus them on our problems instead of their problems, I pay them money, away you go. And he's like, but the problem is, like, if you have people that are going for certifications, that shows you, what their mentality is. Certification. You could either spend 40 hours building something, or you can spend 40 hours studying for a test. He's like, tests. Clients don't care about tests. Clients care about products. All right. And so that's one of the things to be thinking about. Like when you go out there to get the job, are you showing perspective anybody in the industry that you actually want to do our job? Again, one of the nice things about doing these daily blobs is I get to show you what a pain in the ass our job actually is. And my job's pretty good. To be honest with you. But it's a pain in the ass, right? Again, like, think about this. I've got the self-study program. So I created the idea of the Python self-study course. I've written out 43 modules. I'm now doing videos for 43 modules. As I do videos for 43 modules, I'm realizing even more modules that I have to write and do videos for. And it's just a slog. It's just a slog. How many of you jackasses are like, I'd like to be Eli the computer guy? And then when you see what I do, how many of you still want to do it? Right? And that's the thing. How many people actually want to do the work? They want what they think is the money. They want what they think is the prestige. Right? They want all these things that they think, but that's not really the reality. Right? And so that's one of the big questions that an employer has to be thinking about when they're looking at you is this person actually going to do the job? The other thing to be thinking about too is I was talking to this one person, and it was interesting. It was interesting, this one person, because they had put out over 1,000 resumes. Ooh, that sucks. That sucks. 1,000 resumes. But here's one of the things I want you to do is I want you to flip the chair. I want you to flip the script. So you put out 1,000 resumes. Eli, the world is horrible. I put out 1,000 resumes and nobody gives a damn. Can you imagine the misery on the other side of that? Again, one of the things I talk about with Silicon Dojo being authorityless, gatekeeperless, free to the end user, that authorityless and gatekeeperless is an important thing. Because I talk about when I was an asshole. I'm the only one that does it. Hey, remember when I was a bit of a racist shit? I do. I wasn't really racist. I was just tired. There's way too many fucking consonants. How can you have a name with that many consonants? How can there be 15 letters in a name and there's no vowels? Anyways, and I've talked about this before, right? So I remember, back when I had my company, right? And I put out a position for, MCSE or whatever, computer repair. And holy crap, we get 50 to 100 resumes off of a Craigslist posting back from 15 years ago. And I need one person. I need one person. All right, so think about this. So that's one of the things I talk about with the authority list and the gatekeeper list. So I've been doing 30-day months. I've been working 30 days a month. I've been working 16 hours a day. I wasn't treating myself well. I wasn't doing running. I was drinking too much beer. Anyway, so you get done. You get done. You get done with the end of the day. Or not really the end of the day. You get to sunset. And at sunset, you get to pull out all of these resumes and figure out who you're going to call for an interview. So probably call 10 people, or you probably narrow it down to 10 people, call 5 to 10 people, one of them will get the job. But you got 50 to 100 resumes. So what do you do? What do you do? What is one of your priorities as the owner, as the boss? Take 100 resumes and take it down to 10. Now, you don't really want to take it down to 10 because you need some wiggle room, but basically what you do is you take 100 resumes and you take it down to 20. And again, the basis of Silicon Dojo, because I would sit there, and again, Baltimore City is very, very diverse in many ways. Again, international, not just race and all that, but international and all that. And yeah, I won't lie, I would pick up resumes. You've been working since like 6 o'clock that morning. It's like 7 o'clock that night, and you're sitting there and you're looking at that name. You're looking at that name. You're like, how do you pronounce that? And then you're like, you know what? I've already been dressed down by a couple of clients today. A couple of my employees have already dressed me down. And I'm tired. You're like, you're sitting there and you're like looking there and you're like, you know how I feel about thunk. I will not lie. There were too many consonants in the name. Oh, the resume went in the trash. Now, to be clear, again, for my company, my own company, they called it a little United Nations. We had foreigners, we had Albanian, we had Ethiopian, we had gay, we had women. You had too many consonants in your name. Man, motherfucker, that thing went in the goddamn trash. And the reason being, because I had to get rid of 80 resumes. My priority is to take 100 resumes down to 20. And then out of that, take it down to 10 and find one person. So one of the things to be thinking about is when you put the resumes out there, when you send 1,000 resumes, fuck me. Can you imagine the poor bastards on the other side of that horse shit? Can you imagine the poor boss on the other side of getting 1,000 resumes? And the other thing you have to be thinking about too is if you send out 1,000 resumes, how many of those jobs do you actually want? Even if you got called back, how many of them do you actually want? How many of them do you know anything about the company? How much, right? At a certain point, it just becomes click, 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 click. You're clicking to send resumes, and they're just getting all this horse crap into their inbox. And out of that mess, they've got to sort through it. Do you think in that particular situation, there's a chance in hell you're going to get a job? Probably not. Because for me, I had to go from 100 resumes down to 5 or 10 or whatever. They've got to go from 1,000 resumes down to 10. That means 990 are going to get thrown in the trash. So one of the things to be thinking about, and that's where, again, semi-formal professional communication is important, is going to meetups and going to events and making relationships with people that are in the industry so that they might be interested in hiring you. Because again, so much what we do, right? You can't micromanage, right? You have to have the employee has to have a lot of flexibility. Again, whether it's work from home or return to work, whatever, you still have to have a massive amount of flexibility. You still have to have the proper mentality. You still have to have the right discipline. You still have to have the right motivation. You have to have the right focus for whatever the company is doing. So one of the things to think about is when you go out to meetups, when you go out to events, when you go out into situations where there are other technology professionals, going out there and schmoozing and talking to create relationships. Hey, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? Oh, I don't know, going out there posting to GitHub so I can find a job. Oh, really? You're posting to GitHub, right? So what are you posting to GitHub? I'm doing Louis Rossmann attack robots. What the fuck is a Louis Rossmann attack robot? Oh, let me tell you. See, there's this guy who believes in right to repair. Total dipshit. Anyways, I'm creating robots that are going to track his ass down and kill him. And why are you going to do that? Because I think Apple will pay me $1 billion. Well, that's interesting. I don't know about the whole killing Louis Rossmann thing, but see, you're creating robots that are tracking people down. Explain a little bit more to me. Right, you sit there and you talk. You're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So how are you doing it? Oh, well, currently I'm using OpenCV. You're like, OpenCV, isn't that fucking a decade ago? Honestly, you're carrying a robot like that. We're really interested in PyTorch. Have you played around with PyTorch at all? No, I haven't played with PyTorch yet. You tell you what, you sit down with PyTorch. I know people that are interested in PyTorch. Again, don't know about the killer robot thing. Do know about the PyTorch thing. And then you go and you schmooze and you talk with people and you start building stuff with PyTorch. You start putting it to GitHub. Next time you see the person, like, wow, PyTorch is amazing. Don't care what you actually think about it. It's amazing. Yeah, I've been building little projects, all month with it. Yeah, if you see my GitHub, I've actually put like 4 or 5 projects up there. It's been really, really cool, right? And you get that going. And then the person, again, when you have that conversation, right, you're learning what they care about. They're learning that you are willing to learn. They get to see that, again, you're learning a particular subject. Not only that you're learning a particular subject, but you were willing to pick that subject up within a month. That becomes a valuable relationship for them to have. And in a world where you put up a help wanted ad and you get a fucking 1,000 people blasting you with emails when frankly most of them don't want the job anyway, you're sitting there as an owner or a boss and you're like, hey, don't suppose you want to work for my company? Well, I don't know. How much your company pay? Well, we have a range about X, Y, or Z. Got to talk with the HR about it. So, well, that actually sounds pretty good. Okay, well, if you do, here's the thing. I'm going to need your resume, okay, with X, Y, and Z on it. What? Yeah, see, so we have a job opening right now that requires X, Y, and Z. So I want to make sure that you put X, Y, and Z on the resume that you submit so that I can hire you because you fit the bill. It's relationships. It's schmoozing. It's getting people to know you and like you and respect you and think when they look at you, this is the type of person that is going to do the job. And the final thing to be thinking about with all of this is it's become very trendy. Become very trendy. This whole late stage capitalism horseshit. Just stop. Just stop. I know it sounds cute to the kids. The kids love late stage capitalism. Stop. It's not late stage capitalism. It's just not. What's coming next? Again, probably World War III. That's its own story. Anyways, what's coming next? Nuclear weapons. Oh, well, anyways. Here's the deal. One of the things to be thinking about is, again, the world has problems. The world has problems. America has problems. Again, look, God bless America. Look, I don't know. I'm an American. I like America. We have so many problems. Our healthcare system doesn't work. People can't afford houses. Our education system is a disaster. We've got food deserts. Like the amount of problems that we have in this country that are solvable, is completely and utterly idiotic. Again, when you look at Silicon Dojo, and again, realize I'm doing this in literally 150 square foot room. This is it, right? That's a screen over there. That's the camera, right? This is what I'm doing Silicon Dojo out of. This is my budget. But think about this for a second. In a world where I can do Silicon Dojo in a 150 square foot room, basically fucking peanuts, right? Our education system in the United States is costing kids $100,000 for a crappy ass degree that they can't do anything with. Right? We have problems. Like education is a massively solvable problem. It should not cost kids more than about $5,000 to get a degree. There is just no reason with the YouTube and with communication platforms and all like that, getting educated and certified to a bachelor's level should cost between $5,000 to $10,000 done. But that's not happening because our academic system, our education system, is more interested in mining the hell out of the kids than they are about actually doing something good for society. And again, we see that with food, we see that with healthcare, we see that with housing. I mean, how many, if you look around so many areas, how much of the housing is luxury housing at this point? We're not building ranchers anymore, really. We're not building townhomes, row homes like we had in Baltimore anymore, right? That was affordable housing. That when we had the focus of getting people into houses, we build ranchers and row houses. Nowadays, if you look at the housing that's being built, again, it's all luxury stuff. Italian marble. Like what the fuck? People need roofs. People need roofs. So anyways, we've got all these problems. We've got all these problems out there. And there's ways to solve these problems. Again, education with things like Silicon Dojo. Again, there's communication things and there's logistic things and there's all kinds of problems to solve. And so one of the things I want you to think about too, when you sit there and you start bitching about late stage capitalism, right? The very concept comes to your brain. The question I want you to ask yourself is, what the fuck are you doing about it? What the fuck are you doing about it? Other than whining like a little goddamn bitch every fucking day. Other than getting snot on my fucking shirt as you bawl about how bad the world is, what the fuck did you do today about it? And I know that seems harsh. I know that seems hard because I get irritated. I actually get irritated on this. Because yes, we have problems. We have a massive amount of problems. And a whole fucking generation has decided it's more fun to cry like little goddamn bitches than it is to put their fucking pants on and do a goddamn thing about it. Right? And so one of the things to think about too is when you go out in these professional environments, right? Is somebody going to want to hire a crybaby? Right? Society's failing. What do you do? Cry like a bitch. Right? Who the fuck wants to hire that? Do you want that as your fucking wingman? Society's failing. No, you want somebody to stand up and do something. Even if they fail. Even if they fail miserably. Even if they fail fucking miserably. God damn, at least they have pants on. At least they're getting up and they're fucking doing something. And that's one thing to think about with this. Again, our job, our profession is about solving problems. That's all the fuck we do. That's what we do. And so if you see all these problems and you're not doing a goddamn thing about it or trying, then are you part of our profession? Should anybody in our profession give two shits about you? Right? This is the big question. And so that's the thing to be thinking is like you go out there and it's like, well, I haven't been able to get a job or whatever. That's why I started volunteering at a soup kitchen. I'm like, okay, well, that's okay. Start volunteering at a soup kitchen. What does that have to do with technology? Well, I went to the soup kitchen and I realized they were not doing a good job with, tracking how many people were coming through the soup kitchen. So I created, using OpenCV or whatever else, I created a way to track the number of people that came into the soup kitchen on any given day, just using simple head recognition. Let's not say face recognition, just say head recognition. So basically every time somebody goes by the camera, it checks off a little tick. So they know on Tuesdays, there's 1,000 heads in the room during the time period. And on Thursdays, there's 50 heads in the room during the time period. And therefore they can determine better ways of, using resources to make sure appropriate people are fed. Or, I went to the soup kitchen. What I found is that a lot of the food that comes to the soup kitchen, this food is being donated, again, because it actually is being donated by grocery stores and restaurants and that type of thing. And it was a very hodgepodge way of doing the communication. So I built a web app so that the restaurants and grocery stores, it's very easy to say, when they have something to pick up, when we should pick it up, and approximately what it is. So before they would have to call us on the phone, do all of this. Now they just open their thing, they go boop, 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 boop. It automatically pops up on our screen. We route it, and we have somebody pick up the food. Right? And that made the whole situation easier. It increased the amount of food that they were getting by about 10%. And so that was a value proposition there. Right? And going along again, whether it's, soup kitchen, or whether it's Meals on Wheels, or whether it's housing. Again, hey, the problem with, homeless people in the punk scene. Again, right? Punks have problems too. Yeah, the problem is, all these punk rockers out there, and they're so focused on their rock, they're not focused enough on where to sleep at night. So I came up with a little couch surfing app for punk rockers to be able to swap couches. I saw a problem. Who the fuck cares? Everybody sees problems. I came up with what I thought was a solution for the problem. I deployed the solution to the problem, and this is how it worked out. Got it in the nose. And you don't have to succeed. You don't have to succeed. That's the thing in the tech world. A lot of projects fail. A lot of good projects fail miserably for stupid reasons. But did you go through the process? Or did you cry? Hands choking. So anyways, there you go. Some thoughts for the day. Would you hire you? If you were in the position of being the employer, would you hire you? And if you wouldn't hire you, maybe you have to have a conversation with the person in the mirror to ask what the hell you're doing in life. Because again, this is again, it's a real thing. Because it's not about good people. It's not about bad people. I know I sit here and I scream and I start swearing or whatever, but it's not about good people or bad people. It's about our profession. It's what we do. There are other professions out there that are not so focused on results. They just need 10 or 100 or however many of X, Y, or Z's, and you just go out there and you do your job. You are told what to do, you do your job, you come home, right? You make your money, that's it. That's not really what we do as professionals. And again, not professionals in the long term. One of the frustrating things that I see with a lot of folks nowadays is, again, that they're so young. So I've been doing tech now for a while. It is actually now 2025. It is now 2025. I went in the Army in 96. Right? It's been a while. Anywho. Here's the thing. With a lot of the folks in the tech world, again, people that have jobs and even made a lot of money, right? If they've done it within a short span, it doesn't mean they're set up for the long haul. Right? Just because you went through the boot camp or whatever, and then you get a good paying job, that doesn't mean you're going to last in our profession. Right? Because recessions come and recessions go. The market goes up, the market goes down. The interest rates go down, and then the interest rates go up. Right? And one of the things to be thinking about is it's not just about getting yourself into the one job, but are you positioning yourself for a career? If this job goes away, are other people going to be interested in hiring you? Even if they can't. Again, maybe macro forces, big ass recession happens, everybody goes down. But if you talk to another person, like, yeah, I just got laid off from my job, would they be like, damn, I wish we could afford you because I'd really love to have you on our team, right? That means they want you, they just can't afford you, right? Which is still a problem. Or they like, oh, sucks for you. I'm like, what? Like, maybe you should think about becoming a florist, right? That's what you got to think about professionally. Right? And that's why the networking is important. That's why the meetups are important. That's why the schmoozing is important. Right? Putting yourself out there to show that people should be interested that you exist. So anyways, some things to ponder. Don't worry. I'm not saying any Batcave rule stuff. I have Batcave rules. When we do these conversations, there's Batcave rules. I generally only talk about the stuff that I've seen a gazillion times. So many times. I got in trouble with Lewis. Lewis got really mad at me about that years and years and years ago. So we'd had a conversation. And I gave advice. Anyways, like a week later, I did a video and I was railing the way that I normally do. And then he gave me an email. He's like, "You bastard." I was like, what fuck, what'd I do? He's like, I was having a conversation with you and whatever, and then you go and you rail on, talking about things. And that was funny because I was like, Lewis, it really wasn't about you. I had heard that exact same line like 15 times. You saying it yet again brought it to mind. Ergo, I talked about it. But it wasn't actually about you. I was not violating Batcave rules. You just do what a lot of other people do. It's not my fault. So anyways, do realize with this kind of stuff, if I get harsh or whatever, it's not, again, it's not on any personal thing. I'm not going to bring up anybody's personal individual things. It's more along those lines of, again, I've just heard it. Again, I've just heard it so many times. And it's like I say, that it's that whole bitching about capitalism thing. Fuck, I know it sounds cute. I know it sounds funny to the kids. Again, go to the bar. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you how to think. But go to the bar. Bitch to your friends about capitalism. Bitch to your parents about capitalism. Keep it the fuck out of professional conversations, though. Because that's the system that we're in. And I don't hear any better systems. I think that's the funny thing about, late stage cap. It's not like, oh, have you heard about communism version 550? Yeah. Communism version 449 sucked, but I really think with communism version 550, they've really nailed down how a society should function. Right? It's not like everybody talks about the end of capitalism. I haven't actually heard anybody talk about the replacement, the actual replacement. Because do remember with capitalism, basically with all these models, it's essentially who decides what to do with the profit. That's what it comes down to, right? When you have excess, when you produce and you have excess, who gets to decide what happens to that excess? So again, the capitalist model says the business owners, right, the people with money, they get to decide what happens with the excess. Other systems, socialism, communism, whatever else, basically the government, the authority structure, gets to decide what happens to the excess. And as I will ask all the progressives and all the Democrats out there, do you really want to give Trump more power? Or more to the point, why do you want to give Trump more power? Really, as a progressive, as a socialist and all, you actually want to give Trump more control over our economy? Really? I mean, you do you, but I'm not sure I feel that way. So anyways, but I know a lot of people like to complain about it. But again, like think about that if you're going into a business environment. You're in a business. The business is capitalistic. Your business is about profit. Literally. Your salary comes from the revenue of the business. And you go in there and you start talking about this anti-capitalist horse shit. Again, just from a business standpoint, even if the business owner agrees with you, even if the business owner is like, yeah, capitalism sucks. Here's the thing. It's still a system. As a very old white guy once told me, Eli, I'm not telling you it's a good system, Eli. I'm telling you it's a system that we have. God bless that old motherfucker. It was true. Oh, those are the days. Pissing off old white guys. Learned a lot of lessons there. Got my ass handed to me so hard. But anyways, again, as the old white guy said, it's not necessarily a good system, but it is a system that we got. So if you go in there bitching and whining and moan and complain about the system that we got, again, do I want you into my facility? Fuck no. So anyways, some things to ponder. Would you want to hire yourself? It's a big question. And again, even for the people at jobs. So again, I talk with people like trying to move up. So there's people that are trying to get into the field. And again, with some questionable thought processes. But there's also people trying to get up in the field. Trying to move up in the field. Trying to move up in the field. Anyways, and that's one of the questions asked. It's like when the boss is looking around for somebody to be promoted, are you on their radar? Right? When the boss says, "Hey, we really need we need more of X skill on the team," do you go out there and bone up on X skill? Or you're like, "Yep, yuck, yuck." Right? When somebody needs to stay late, are you the one to raise your hand? Again, remember, if you're trying to go up in the field, right, a lot of management jobs, a lot of the higher end jobs are salary. If they're not salary, they're basically salary. So that means you've got to stay there till the work is done. So if you're in the hourly position, help desk, desktop support, junior admin, whatever else, and servers need to be racked, right, migration over the weekend, are you the first one to raise your hand and say, yeah, I'm up for it? Are you showing the people that are above you that you're capable of going to the next level? Or are you only got to do the next level if somebody comes to you and says, "Putty, putty, putty, please"? They're not going to do that. Just spoiler, they're not going to do that. Anyways, I'm probably procrastinating at this point. I do have to finish that Zoom class for tomorrow, Introduction to Programming. So with that, I'll call it a day. Again, Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. We've got the Zoom classes. We've got other videos on there. I'm working on the self-study program. We're going to have many more self-study programs when this is finished. And we do the office hours Mondays, 1 to 5. You can sign up for half an hour and we can have a conversation about what it is you're trying to do in life. And I'll try to be as nice and polite as possible. Just, think about that. Because it is interesting when people talk with me. It's interesting when people talk to me and they're trying to move up in their career and like the way that they do. And again, it's kind of one of those things to me. I'm like, I wonder how well that does for you. Anyways, things to ponder. See y'all later.